Welcome, episode, I don't even know what number it is. It's the Jake Nulph Show. We're at the Edinburgh Hotel. Rough week. Number 15 IUP certainly lived up to the billing. But as you know, it's another day. It's business, and it's 1-0 and on to the next week. Of course, we will get to Clarion coming up a little bit. We've got a lot to get to. I think there's some pros, some cons. There's some excitement. I mean, we might have found a running game a little bit, which had really been a struggle. And I would like to think if you can run it a little bit against IUP, you should be able to run it against everybody that's left on the schedule.
Yeah, because that's a really stout front that they present.
Yes, yes. So, anyway, thanks to Pat Hargis and everybody at the hotel as we look back. Now, the score certainly got out of hand fairly quickly. But I don't know necessarily. I mean, I guess my concern is, and now that it's after the fact, right?
Right.
We talked about balance. And, Paul Tortorell's like, the coach speak and the code, they are balanced.
They are.
And, it felt like the whatever you presented, they had an answer. That being said, it wasn't all doom and gloom because every week you sort of reevaluate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I always like to use the golf analogy that if you start, double bogey, 80's going to be a good score. But if you're standing on 7T and you're 300 par, all of a sudden 80's not a good score anymore. Like So we talked about where we thought Shepherd was, and then we talked about where we thought California was. Well, I think IUP's probably the new bar.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair statement, Joe. And we talked a little bit after the game on the post-game show. That's a really good football team that we played Saturday. And, they have weapons. You'd mentioned them being balanced. Their offense presents problems because of the simple fact that, they are extremely patient. They take what you give them. And, we had talked all last week about, the ability to stop the run. But then also, if you lighten the box, we got to win some one-on-one matchups outside. But that Dwayne Brown and their receiving core create some problems for you. The one thing I thought was their quarterback was extremely, extremely accurate. He hit the open receivers.
And there were times that he threw guys open.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were in position, and the one touchdown comes to mind, which would have been to your right.
Yeah.
Where the corner was there, the safety was the window had to be about that big.
Yeah, and he fit it, and he threads it. And, and I know that Coach Tortorella has had a lot of positive things to say about him. He was a transfer, I think, from Pittsburgh State.
Pittsburgh State,
yeah. And he's lived up to the billing. I mean, he was very efficient. The thing is, Joe, we talked about the fast start that we needed. And it presented itself. We just didn't capitalize. We look at when we watch this in film today, the opening kickoff return, we've got a hat on a hat. And if we just set the block up and make the move, we tried to bounce it, and we were 2 for 2 with guys on the outside. All Thad has to do is put his foot in the turf and get north and south, and it's gone. He still may be running from Sox Harrison Stadium. So we didn't capitalize there.
Probably about Buffalo by now.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know, though. Yeah, hopefully. But, again, we just didn't capitalize on those plays. We get into a third down situation on the first series. Their coverage was what we thought it was going to be. We had a simple curl flat route called where we work away from the Mike linebacker, and our X is wide open. We just don't throw him the ball. And, those are the things when you get into games like the IUPs and the Shepherds that you name, we got to make those plays. And then defensively, we battled, but we gave up way too many big plays. And that's the thing. That's been our Achilles heel, unfortunately, with the young defense that we have. And the maddening thing for Coach Papley, myself, the defensive staff, is we make those plays in practice. It's just unfortunate that for whatever reason when we get in the game, we're not making those plays. And, that's the thing where if we didn't make them in practice and we didn't know what we were doing, that's the problem. But it's just that shows our youth at times. But on the positive side of it, I felt like that we made some plays in the run game. We continued to battle, and you had mentioned we were able to run the ball on offense, which was a nice thing.
Ironically enough, a half yard more a carry than IUP average, which I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I mean, 5.5 yards a rip. I don't care who you're playing. That's good.
And that's the thing where you go and you look back at what the game presented. And unfortunately, we were down. And then we got down by more. And now all of a sudden you're trying to press the game and you're swimming against the current. Where if we could have just stayed patient and rode that run game a little bit longer, I know we would have had more success. But when you're down significantly, now you've got to try to force some things. And unfortunately, the turnovers happened, and we forced 2 balls. And, well, I shouldn't say that. We forced 1 throw, again, on a 3rd down where Isaac's rolling to his right. He tries to make a play, Joe, coming back to his left. And their nickel, Mr. ESPN highlight reel, Darius Bruce makes a great interception. And then going in before the half, we had a nice drive going. We get the ball down inside the red. And I'm not sure which defensive lineman tipped the throw, and they had brought pressure and were in 0 down there. And Isaac just tried to buy himself enough time to throw open a kid, and their defensive lineman tipped the ball in the air. And I'm not sure if it was Ronye Mitchell or the other defensive tackle made a tremendous.
That should have been on SportsCenter.
That was a tremendous
play. He was
play.
Engaged.
Yes.
And still tipped it and caught it
Yeah.
Because the offensive lineman had no idea where the ball was.
No.
He's continuing to block him, and somehow he came down. I do want to – you mentioned with the benefit of hindsight, would you have done the end of the first half differently?
I think the series before, we're trying to get momentum. And, I looked back at that in my notes yesterday, and I said, at this point here, maybe we should have slowed it down, went a little more patient, tried to get the sticks moving before we operated in the 2-minute drill, because I think at that time there was like 2:48 left.
Yeah. And then went incomplete, and
then we have to punt, and then they hit the big pass play. And unfortunately, they got us into a coverage where, the split to the boundary was right on our divider, and we played it a little bit outside, and they just happened to run the RPO glance route, and Ridley made it, again, quarterback, good throw, good catch, and they split us. Big play all the way down, and, they get the score. So, of course, in hindsight there, I'm going, we should have tried to run some time off the clock. If we get closer to midfield, then kick it into hyperdrive and go 2-minute. But, that's the thing where – I never want to second-guess myself, and I didn't until I watched the film because, look, we're in the business of trying to win football games, Joe, and we got to score. And that's the thing. We got to get our offense in momentum and rhythm. That's where I can Sunday quarterback myself and go, and I made a note in my book where I'm like, okay, feel the game out. I think it was 21 at that point, maybe 28.
Well, it was 21.
It was 21, then it went up 28.
Yeah.
But, look, hey, and they were getting the ball to start the second half. So you look at it to where if we can get a score.
I can see your for and against argument.
Right,
knowing they're getting the ball back, you feel like you have to go. That's why I asked you,
right.
Would you have done it differently?
And that's the thing where I think our guys appreciate me and the way that we coach, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But we're in every single football game, we're going to press the envelope, and we're going to gamble. We're going to roll the dice. We're got to be aggressive. That, to me, when our players know that we're literally going, okay, we're going to do everything we can to win the football game and be non-conventional, I feel like that gets us in rhythm. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And unfortunately, against the IUP, it didn't work. And then, boom, the big play. And then, so they go up 28, but we drive the ball all the way down inside the red area there. And they make, again, the defensive lineman. Was that Mitchell?
I believe so.
Yeah. Ronye's a good player for them, and he's been around for a long time. Just made a tremendous individual play. And, Joe, that's the thing when I look back at the last 2 weeks. We've just been on the short side of the stick of the playmaking business. And, we had a long meeting today with our football team, and we talked about, hey, look, this was the first time all season we've lost back-to-back games now, and the ability to hit the reset button. And, we got to make more plays. And, they made a ton of plays. We didn't. And that's the thing where, in all phases, offense, defense, special teams, we haven't taken the ball away the last 2 weeks. We've been giving it away. We haven't had the sacks or the big negative plays on defense. Unfortunately, the other teams have been making that. We haven't had the splash plays on offense. Other teams are making it. In the kicking game, I feel like we're holding serve.
I mean, in exchanges, I think you're probably winning because Reed has not given up return yards. Thad has been on a roll as of late in the kick. I mean, when the opportunity presents itself, I think that is a really overlooked positive. I mean, you probably have saved yourself 250 yards last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But
if not more.
And I'm a tough critic because we look at the kicking game as an ability to not only just flip the field, Joe, but we want to try to make splash plays of the year turn into possessions or points. And, you look at a group last year, we blocked kicks pretty regularly, whether they were field goals or punts, and we just haven't been able to do that this year for whatever reason. And, they are there. The plays are there to be made. We're just not executing it. And, it's this, and we're just so close. And, sometimes I feel like our guys, and it's even us as coaches, we carry around this baggage when, things aren't going well. We grip a little bit, and we get a little wound up tight to where when we talked to the team today, I said, hey, look, whatever has happened these last 7 weeks, hit the reset button. We know we're a good football team. It's just we're very spotty. It's got to be consistent. And we haven't played a whole 60 minutes in all 3 phases, and that's really what we talked about today. And looking forward is we've got to come out. We've got to have a short memory. I thought we had a great practice for a Monday tonight. The energy was there. We got to get back to basics. And, we got to start executing at a higher level. Hats off to Paul Tortorella and his staff. Again, IUP made all the plays on Saturday. We didn't. They've got some really good material, and, I don't know where it's going to shape out at the end of the year, but as far as the comment you made with them being the measuring stick, you have eyes. You've watched all the games so far, and I don't disagree with that statement.
Now, I wanted to ask you this, and I'm not phrasing this as a negative because I myself was surprised at how effective the ground game was. Yeah. Do you think did you guys sort of overlook that? Because then now that we know what we know, and I look back, did maybe you abandon the run, or did you? Because like I said, I was shocked when I saw the numbers myself, so I didn't see it. I mean, it's conceivable that you didn't realize. But again, looking back, do you think maybe you abandoned the run a little bit soon? Because you were getting some yards, and you talk about keeping everything in front of you.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, too, where, again, if the game's in a different situation and you're not trailing by significant possessions, you can be a little bit more patient and hammer the run to kind of take some pressure off Isaac in the pass game and to slow that front down. And I felt like that our offensive line played fairly well. I mean, not just in the run game. I thought from a pass protection standpoint, Isaac was clean for the most part. I know he got hit a couple of times and there was some pressures. The thing that I thought going back and watching the game, Joe, was we got them to blitz a little bit more than they usually do. And I think that was part of our running game. And then I know there was some opportunities in the RPO game as well. We just missed throws or we dropped balls. And that's the frustrating thing because when you run the ball like we were able to do in spots of that football game, it kind of frees up everything else. And we just didn't make enough plays on Saturday. And to answer your question, and we got out of the run game because of the way that the score in the game was presented. Now, getting Anthony Williams back was a nice benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely felt his presence. It's good to see him back in there. The thing that I like about Anthony is he's an older guy that has some juice and some energy. And when he gets going, it gets our offense going. And he's a downhill, put his foot in the ground, north-south kind of running back, which we like. And, the positive thing is we're really excited now that we were able to look at that and some of the things that we did well on Saturday, and we're looking forward to building on that.
We had a good chuckle. I'm 98% certain the guy that Caden Spiegel was rushing against was in college when Caden was playing junior high football. They had 3 graduate students that started on their offensive line, and I believe 2 on their defensive line.
Yeah, that's a veteran group. And I look at the positive where our young guys, we want to go against the best. Iron sharpens iron. And, we had mentioned in previous weeks, and the PSAC is a league where every week you've got a new challenge and a new opportunity, and you have those opponents where you're going to play top 10, top 15, top 25 teams in the country, and there's no rest for the wicked. You've got to be able to go, and I like the fact that our young guys showed up, especially when you look at up front, O-line, D-line. We didn't shy away. We competed and we battled, and that's a test to them and our coaching staff because, if that's the 22, 23-year-old men that we're competing against, we didn't back down from that. Now, are we giving up size, strength, and speed? Yeah, but to me, that's the benchmark. All right, so that's going to motivate us that much more in the weight room in the off season. If that's what we project to be in a year, 2 years, well, I'm really excited about that.
So we're going to talk to Mr. Hulslander coming up, and then we will venture to turn the page and get ready for the Golden Eagles. It is the Jake Nulph Show. We're at the Edinburgh Hotel, and we will be right back after this. All right, back here at the Edinburgh Hotel. It's the Jake Nulph Show. Gabe Hulslander joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Plays a little football here at the Borough. Big fella, young fella.
Yeah.
Common thread here. I do want to ask because we were talking about with Coach Nulph and then James Franklin's comments after the Michigan game. If you can't win up front, you can't win.
Absolutely.
And that is not reinventing the wheel. That's not curing cancer. That is you are not with maybe Mike Vick being the exception. No quarterback's ever made an offensive line better. But it happens every week that the offensive line makes the quarterback better. We had talked, I'm sure you had heard, struggle to run the ball. You found a way, maybe against the best front. We'll see, at least to this point, probably the best front. What changed, Gabe? You were able to run the football a little bit.
So, I mean, we've got a really tight group. We got a really tight room, and we knew the potential we had. A lot of our guys on the offensive line, we were here in the spring playing together, taking a lot of reps, getting better, and we just knew that with the potential that we had to step it up. Our communication's been a lot better the past 2 weeks, and that's when our run game has really hit the stride, and we wanted to step up to the challenge because we knew to really prove who we were. IUP had a really good front, and if we could run the ball on them, we can run the ball on anybody. So, definitely wanted to show who we were and finally prove our potential. And, I love where we're at, and I'm really excited to where our room's going to be in the next couple of weeks to end out the season.
Now, you're in a tough business. Those wide receivers and the corners, they can be young, and you're in the grown-up business.
Yeah.
You're in the grown-up business. That's been a problem. But it's not a problem. It's just a reality. I shouldn't say that's the reality. You guys are extremely young up front, but there's got to be that probably adds a little bit to the camaraderie because, as you mentioned, you've got a lot of opportunities in the years to come because you guys are collectively also young.
Oh yeah, I felt it last year being a true freshman, 18-year-old at 250 pounds, getting in my stance at left guard last year, and then obviously moving in this year, I had a lot of older guys leave and a bunch of new guys come in, and yeah, we're just we really had to find our way, and it's definitely a mentality, and I love what our guys bring. What our room brings every day. It's a mentality. We know we have to play older than what we are. It's just a thing. So, obviously we went through some growing pains, but we got a room that loves to compete no matter, how old the D-line is, how long they've been there, how big they are. We just love to compete, and, we're a confident group. I love that we got to show that, as one of the, bright spots from Saturday. And I just, really excited about what the future brings.
I'm always curious. I think, I used to – it didn't work out, but when I was a little kid, I wanted to play in the NBA. There's maybe some hope. But, obviously, you wanted to play at Penn State or Notre Dame or pick your, maybe – I guess your age, maybe it would have been Oklahoma. Are you ever surprised? Because I often wonder – because I know, like, when Jove and I are in the booth, we'd like kind of look like how'd that guy end up here? Like, do you ever line up against somebody and think like, shouldn't you be like at Miami or something? This is really good football. I mean, there's big dudes flying around. Have you ever surprised yourself and been like, am I still in Division II? Like, there's men everywhere.
Well, obviously, it's a surprise every week. We got a great conference, and just the fundamental will to compete. It's cool to go up against some studs, and but my dad actually played at Lock Haven.
Okay.
So I grew up going to PSAC games. So
I'm always. I love this. I mean, I've done this for years, and I'm always sort of encouraging people to go see it. Like, you don't need to go far to watch really high end, especially in the PSAC West, to see really good, entertaining football.
Oh yeah, I mean, now obviously when I hit the when I got recruited, the West was completely new to me. But I was growing up going to Hubert Jacks, watching Lock Haven. So
now, are you old enough to remember when they still had the MiG? The plane that they used to fly over. They used to. They had an alumni that had a MiG plane. He used to do the flyover for every game. You said, you're familiar with the East. You leave me no choice but to ask the follow up. What brought you west? Do you like snow? Do you like that awesome ride across 80? I mean, what brought you out here?
Well, obviously, being an offensive lineman, you always you grow up dreaming, playing in a snow game, just running the football. And obviously, I played wing T offense in high school, so. Edinburgh was the best fit for me. I mean, the coaching staff made me feel like a part of the team immediately. I loved, the scheme. It was what I wanted to do. It's, blue-collar work. It's hard-nosed football. So that's what attracted me here the most.
Now, I love that. Like, any offensive lineman that I know, I don't know if arrogant. I mean, there's that macho, but – that lunch pail mentality, go to work, it's never the wide receiver, throw me the ball. Like, that's not that. I mean, that is it. I mean, this is going to sound really cheesy, but is it a way of life?
Well, I mean, in the business that I'm in and as the business that any offensive lineman is, your joy comes from beating the guy across from you. So, when you got a great downhill run scheme and that's just what you want to do. That's the way you get to celebrate. That's the way you get to show off instead of the touchdown celebrations and the big first down celebrations. You get to line up and say, hey, I'm going to beat you every rep. So I mean, that's just when you're an offensive lineman, that's just what you want to do. So
is there a worse feeling in the world than the white hat saying holding, and that it's going to be your number coming out?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not a good feeling. You're just,
I often wondered what that would be because, like, you guys get singled, like, you get picked on, and they're like, you're the biggest guys out there. Like, I wouldn't think they would want to pick on you, but when you make a mistake, like, that guy makes sure that everybody knows it's you. That's a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah, and the worst ones is it usually comes when you have the big run or the big pass, and you just have to.
I mean, the guy in the white hat's never like interception thrown by it. It's always picking on the offensive lineman to tell him who did.
Everybody's running back, and you just have to stand there like my bad.
Sorry guys, I didn't mean to. What's your major? What's your plan?
So I'm a sports and recreation management major here, and I grew up and still work at a golf course, so always wanted to be like a building grounds supervisor, so working maintenance at a school. So going home and doing that would probably be top of the list right now.
Do you play golf?
I don't. I mean, very, the once a year, employee golf tournament maybe. But
that's an odd thing that you'd want to do if you don't actually play golf.
Well, I mean, it's my best friend's family owns the golf course, so I love working on machines and working on mowers and just being outside. It's what I love to do. So
before you came up here, Coach Nulph told me you can lift more than your dad. Is that true?
Not yet, but the goal is to reach his numbers. I mean, he did some crazy stuff when he was in his peak. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'd love to get there, but that's some pretty big numbers to reach.
Now, again, we talk about all the time the culture, the blocks. You had some success running the ball. Obviously, Anthony coming back, certainly a big help. I mean, what for your group? For your running backs, what do you and I'm sure, if you would, have maybe 200-yard guys, Coach Hartong's buffet would be extensive. what's
that would be a good Sunday night dinner. Let me tell you.
What's a realistic goal here for the rest of the way?
I mean, obviously, you just want to win, the numbers battle and be able to, determine, the style and the, how the game goes. You want to control the clock. You want to be able to, reach that 4-yard, 3-yard, 5-yard chunks every play. We want to be, relied upon. So, yeah, obviously, 150-yard rusher, that's always nice. But when it comes down to it, we want to be able to control the football. So when we know when a run play is called, we can get those 4 chunks at a time, and we're controlling the line of scrimmage, not them. That opens up everything, because when we're winning the run game, they have to back off in the pass rush, and that makes, our jobs easier as well as Isaac's, because then they're throwing, more blitzes, they're dropping less in coverage, it opens a lot of stuff up. So
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that you moved from inside out. Big deal, no deal, little deal?
I mean, for me, it was a big deal when they first, approached me about it, because I've always been a guard. But, I had the whole spring to prepare. I was, playing tackle all spring, and obviously Coach Tiz got me right, and I can't thank the coaching staff enough for having confidence in me, every day, making mistakes, getting beat by speed rushes, because I've never been singled out like that before. And they just had, confidence in me, always in my ear, saying, you'll get it, you'll get it, you'll get it. And they kept developing me. And then, they got me right. And, definitely the growth from where I started in the spring to now, and it's just all because of, the coach's confidence in me. And, obviously I want to be the best I can be, and I love a challenge. So, yeah, I took it personal moving outside, because I'm like, I'm going to be the guy that
You're like
has to win.
You're like a glamour guy now.
I have to be the guy that win a one-on-one, because I don't have the help. Sometimes on the inside you're not singled out, you're double teaming a lot, and you also have inside help from your center and stuff like that. But now, having confidence to win one-on-ones every single play, it's a good feeling.
I ask the questions that people really want to know. So, of your offensive line group, if you had to lay a couple of shekels of your own money, who would be able to eat the most wings?
Our freshman right tackle, Tyler Hayes, or Blaze Richards, who is a bowling ball of a kid. He's about 6 foot, probably 6 foot wide, love him to death, great personality, but yeah, he can definitely put down some wings.
All right.
He's probably 315. If we took him out the wing night, he'd probably come home 325 from how much he could eat. But I like where I stand. I've reached the 25 wing mark a couple of times. I definitely have to get that number up. But yeah.
All right, well done. Congratulations on the run and the position change. I don't think people understand. That's a big deal to make that move, and I appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Gabe Hulslander joining us. We are moving on to Golden Eagles, or as we like to affectionately call them, never mind. Hey, that's my old stomping grounds. But Jake Nulph's going to join us again here at the Edinburgh Hotel. Get you ready. Fighting Scots and the Golden Eagles. Back with more right after this. All right, welcome back. Jake Nulph Show. We're here at the Edinburgh Hotel. So we turn the page.
Yeah.
IUP behind, the Golden Eagles in front. And, of course, I offer you nothing. There's nothing. I mean, it's different. It's totally different.
Completely different.
And Ray Monica, who is a really good football coach,
and it's showing.
I mean, this is a guy that built. I mean, Clemens gets all the. I don't want to say Clemens gets all the credit, but at Kutztown, but Ray Monica is the one that got that thing going. And I'm going to be honest with you. Clarion has put some wins on the board.
They have.
And the offense is unique.
Very unique. Their OC's a guy that taught Matt Canada all of the fly sweep stuff.
I don't know if that would be something I put on my.
Well, it depends if you're a depends if
right
it depends if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, or are you talking about Matt Canada when he had Pitt rolling, right? Like, but it's an interesting offense. It has made them extremely competitive early. I compare it to the triple option in some ways. And look, Coach Monica's done a great job. They've won 2 in a row. They're 3-4 just like us. They are playing extremely well. And you can tell this is a confident group that's starting to hit stride, and they're feeling themselves. And, I know the defensive coordinator, Josh Hager, pretty well. I got to really know him when we were recruiting South Florida, as he was the defensive coordinator at St. Vincent College when I was the defensive coordinator at Westminster. I got a lot of respect for him, and Coach Monica brought him on to run the defense. And then obviously Coach Mark in that offense. It's the fly sweep. A lot of smoke and mirrors. I mean, they're motioning almost 85-90% of the game, Joe. It's not the Clarion offense that you're used to seeing from Coach Weibel. And their quarterback, the Benedict kid, he's a competitor. I like him a lot. Watching him on tape, he runs extremely well. And I don't think he gets enough credit in the pass game. He throws some guys open. Their offensive scheme present challenges because it's triple option in the fact that you've got to defend the downhill run, the east and west run, and then the play action that comes off of that with switch routes and vertical concepts. It's a problem because then they have playmakers on the perimeter as well, and then the running back, Owens, gave us problems last year in the game that we played.
He had a nice game against Edinburgh last
year. And I look at Martin, number 2, the receiver on the perimeter, and then the number 1, the jet slot. They've got weapons, and then the Roby kid from Hempfield who played a lot for them last year is another viable weapon. It's a challenge because it's unique in that you don't see it every day. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they play physical. That's the one thing that jumped out to me right away when I started watching tape on them is, their linebackers run extremely well. They're undersized, but that doesn't matter to them. They see a hole, they plug it. They're extremely active. The secondary, it's a 4-2-5 scheme. So their 5 defensive backs are active. They're physical. You can tell that they're starting to gel. That's the one thing where if you start early in the season and you watch the film up until the last week against Mercyhurst, they've got some chemistry. They know where they're going to be on the field. It was very similar fashion on how they beat Mercyhurst and how we beat Mercyhurst. They forced Mercyhurst to turn the ball over. They had a pick 6. We did the same thing, pick 6, and then they won the game with a field goal at the end.
Walk-off field goal.
And where we had a similar ending. So, this is a group that take the pre-existing Clarion football team that and throw it out the window. It's a new year. It's a new staff. It's a new deal, and they're playing very well.
I assume Hamden is still a tackling machine, and then the big German kid, which is a Dan Patrick reference if you listen to the Dan Patrick show.
That's 99.
The big German kid coming off the edge. I mean, they've had some guys that, people, there was always the potential. And, of course, Legend Davis is just a vacuum for the football in the back end.
He's having a great year.
Again, I mean, he came right out and, he picked off, I think, 4 passes last year as a freshman. They've got some pieces. I watched them twice. I'm very curious to see, from the press box looking down what that offense looks like.
Yeah, it's misdirection. It's fly sweep. It's quarterback counter. It's zone.
And it all happens every play,
yeah,
too, right?
Absolutely. That's the thing where, again, it's unique because you don't see it every single day. And, credit to Coach Monica going out and get Coach Mark, and was it UC Davis as the assistant head coach there.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that he came to Clarion because his daughter and grandkids live in New York City or something.
Well, you would know the intel much more than I would.
I think that's why he
this
came.
is your bowl this week.
It is?
Yeah, this is.
Can I Clarion and Slippery Rock play for what they call as a milk jug, but it's not a milk jug, it's a milk can. and there's an ongoing feud. Like I would argue with people because they named it the milk jug, and I'm like, it's not my fault that you named it the wrong thing. Google what a milk jug is, and Google what a milk can is, and tell me what you're holding. And the answer is a milk can. So do I get to pick the trophy?
Whatever you want, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, think about it. We'll talk on Friday.
Okay. All right. Maybe we'd big fan of Pizza Pub Pizza. Maybe we get a.
We can get it back, whatever you want to get going here.
Okay, well, now I'm thinking. All right.
It's good. Get the creative juices going, buddy.
Okay.
You want to play the two?
Yeah, let's go there. I totally lost train of thought there.
Look, this is a big game. This is your alma mater and a place that you –
But no, we're all one happy family now.
In referring to the Penn West umbrella. That is correct.
But – no, 2 reasons you win, 2 reasons you lose.
I look at the matchup this week and how things present themselves, and the thing that is visible is, and this is a thing that Coach Papley and I were talking about today, is much ball handling that they do, Joe. They don't put it on the ground, and they don't throw interceptions, and they stay on schedule.
And you've been in a splash play.
We've been. Just the last 2 weeks, we haven't had any splash plays there. So it's going to sound like a broken record, but we got to get this group on offense behind the sticks, doing things that they don't want to do, and that's just try to line up, drop back, and throw the football. Everything's based off of their run game, and they've run it on everybody. You name it, they've had 100-plus, and that's the way the scheme is developed. So we have to win. We always talk about third down. Well, we got to win on first down this week, and we've got to make them do something that is uncharacteristic, and that's turn the ball over. And then the flip side of that is you had mentioned our run game. We're going to have to run the football, and that's the thing where I think if you look at the tail of the tape with our offense versus their defense, we're going to have to make some plays, and that's where – they've been opportunistic in taking the ball away and creating sacks and turnovers where we're going to have to flip that around and we're going to have to make those big splash plays. So I think that when you look at the two groups and, then the kicking game, it's so important every single week. And you had mentioned about us being able to flip the field. Well, this week we got to flip the field, and we've got to capitalize on some returns, on some splash plays to where we can maybe steal a possession or – get some points out of those things.
Now, is this we always talk about, remember what was it a couple years ago when Army took Oklahoma, and Oklahoma I think ended up being a playoff team even that year.
Yeah.
Is this wing tee uncomfortable?
Look, I mean, you can call it what it is.
No, but you know what I mean? Everybody talks about, Georgia Tech, they would beat people because you don't see it.
And you're referring to Army in the triple.
Yeah, you don't see it.
No, it's exactly how I describe it. It's triple option-like. It's just not your typical dive quarterback pitch. It's fly sweep with misdirection off the backside or misdirection in the middle, and then off of that, all of that action – well, there's a lot of stuff also happening downfield in the pass game. So we've got to be on our details. And, look, we're going to have to play assignment savvy, and we've got to communicate, and we've got to attack.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear when the service academies, because you don't see it every week, it becomes problematic. And, obviously, it's new to everybody. And as you alluded to, they've been able to, move the football on the ground.
Absolutely. And that's the thing where – I kind of look at it from my own personal experience. When I was the DC at Westminster, Geneva went from a spread team to the triple option, and that immediately made them different. So I have experience defending that. And then my last year at St. Francis was in 2013, Joe, and you'll like this. We opened the season at Georgia Southern the year that they were transitioning from FCS to FBS. And they had a guy at quarterback. You might have heard of him. His name's Jared McKinnon. He's the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs now.
Yes.
So I've been in some of these type of situations where you're looking at the unique and the exotic. And, I know we're going to have a good game plan against it, but it's going to come down to the execution. Can we be disciplined and detailed enough for 4 quarters? Because they're banking on you not being disciplined and detailed for 4 quarters.
And that's the old thing. Is this where you tell your outside guys, if you see what you think you see, you're not seeing the right thing because that's what they want you to see.
Absolutely. If you're caught staring at the football and in the backfield, it's going to be a long day.
So, all right, the goal. I'm excited. I get to pick out a trophy. This is going to be fun. Thanks to everybody for coming out, and of course, Pat and all the good folks here at the Edinburgh Hotel. We'll do it again next week, assuming they have us.
All right, well, the other thing that you better mention too is I know in your personal life, your wife also, our athletic trainer Danielle, has celebrated a significant birthday last. Happy birthday, Danielle. We appreciate you.
So, all right, there you have it. For Jake Nulph, I'm Joe Lodanosky. We'll be back next week here at the Edinburgh Hotel for the Jake Nulph Show. We will be on the air 11 o'clock, right?
Noon kickoff.
You'll be on the air at 11 o'clock. The Fighting Scots Radio Network, presented by ErieInjury.com. The pregame show built by Hobbs Lumber. All the fun at 11 on Cool 101.7.